really important to reflect on it based on everything that you've said so far, and the vision that you've had from Mr. Hines, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. And for those, just very, very quickly, because this is in an earlier video, I talked about this earlier on. So Mr. Hines, I have never written status quo, and talking about innovation being a state of mind. I think that's a really important perspective. And for me, that is almost the start of an innovative culture. But I would just like us to really reflect very separately from all the other questions on how is Hines creating this innovative culture from top down and bottom up to really drive that belief throughout its entire organization?
So I'd say it was created a long time ago. Right now we're sustaining it and things like that. So the way that we are is we're an entrepreneurial firm. Okay, we are if you bring the idea to the firm and it's a quality idea, then you're encouraged to pursue it. Okay, and so there's not this. We don't have this top-down mandate culture. Okay, it's just not in our DNA.
Yeah.
The way that we are structured, the way that we are run the organization is a very, like I said, decentralized. It's an entrepreneurial type culture, and so just by that nature, it allows for these ideas. So these ideas can come through, honestly, from any level, and they come into the organization and can be, used at a local level. It can be brought up to a kind of a regional or country level. Can be brought up to a global level, and that's a great thing. So that's how we've gotten business lines started. That's how we've gotten certain types of developments, started. Our T3 timber development is one of those things. So basically we continuously do this. So it's just how the organizations run. We talk about.
Sorry to interrupt. You mentioned about ideas coming through from everywhere. How do those ideas? How are they circulated? How are they pushed? Are they through innovation committees? Are they email us? Through leadership lines? How does that all operate?
Well, it again depends on what it is. So like if you have about us building buildings differently, developments and things like that, that's coming through our conceptual construction group, who are intimately involved, like in all of our groups. They've done patents, they've done certain things, right? This is constantly that we're pushing the envelope on how we're building buildings. But there's, this on the ground thought, which is, okay, well, I have this idea. Let me see if it has legs. Let me see if it, resonates in the marketplace. And so you can have a situation that a region starts with something, kind of sees what it works after it goes through the proper approvals, like our, investment committee and all those sorts of things. And then you start basically disseminating more information across the organization. So it's not a committee type structure. It's really entrepreneur. Okay, well, does this make sense for the organization? Has the organization said, okay, let's go try it? And then it starts bubbling up. So then we have different ways to communicate that out. Again, whether or not it's a group like conceptual construction, or whether it's a group like, my group from a digital strategy perspective. But this comes from kind of everywhere, right? And so it's not, again, just on, how we are building buildings or how we're doing things from a digital strategy. It comes from, we have something called the Harris Awards, okay? And the Harris Awards relate to, you put in ideas for, innovation, and quote unquote innovation, meaning probably more sustainable, but really about, okay, and it can be anything from what you should put into a parking garage in order to reduce X, Y, and Z, type of emissions, to some big idea of, we think we should have, this type of product offering. And then those are reviewed by a group of individuals, kind of from a central perspective, and awards are given out. So we just have it coming from a lot of different sides. So it's might sound a little bit chaotic, but it's just part of our ethos. It's just, so it's how do you?
But actually, I love the term just then. It seems a little bit chaotic, but that's kind of what change management is sometimes seen as. It's, you know,
Yeah.
So I think it's probably very apt for the situation that it finds itself in, and so I would never be too worried about using that sort of terminology because it's fitting, right? And
Well, it works for, I mean, it works for us. So I'm just going to say, so we don't, I mean, we don't, there's not a big, you know, like I said, committee structure related to this. There's not a lot of like, you know, there's not a lot of these, you know, well, I want to say the word bureaucracy, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but it is, you know, we want to encourage people to be thinking this way. And so how do you do it? I mean, it's, you know, if you see an opportunity in a certain market, in a certain country, in a certain area, then let's talk about it. Let's see if it's something that makes sense. And that's just the Hines mentality.
there was a piece, I'm just going to share it now, which I'd seen written, must have been 5 or 6 years ago, by Charlie, who was or maybe still is, your innovation officer. I think he's now an MD. You know, we're a firm of 4,000 innovators, and these innovation resources exist solely to help each one of us explore and lead in our roles and projects around the world. So this is it's a relatively old piece of content which was just put out there, but I just love the fact that you're terming all these people as innovators with innovation resources, and it just shows that attitude of we're all in this, we are all innovators, and it's one of the big problems with a job role like he had there, which was innovation officer, because generally I've been quite critical that firms shouldn't have a chief innovation officer or a head of innovation. And it was interesting to hear Lendlease last week talking about the fact that they've actually no longer got anybody who is a head of innovation or is an innovation manager. They've completely ruined all of those. They've dismissed all of those job titles and they've merged them into completely different ones because they wanted that attitude, which you can see there from Charlie, which is that we're all innovators. We all have that responsibility from the top, which is that mission and that sort of standard quote from Mr. Hines, all the way through to everybody, on the bottom rung of the ladder is an innovator. No idea is a bad idea. So I really
and honestly, for us, that means whether or not you're putting something in the air cooling system to be able to do something differently and better, to how you build a building, to what's your strategy like on maybe a fund. I mean, it's a like you're talking. It's from this most granular level all the way up. So to us, you're right. It's.
But that I mean, I suppose just to finish this little section off, I mean that comes again from the commitment more than 60 years ago as a family-run company. Mr. Hines was an engineer, and engineers are all about ideas, no matter how stupid they may be. And let's see if they work. If they work, great. If they don't, fail. Go off they go, disappear.
Right.
So it is in that fabric, and I get that. I don't see that very often. Because that founding principle, that founding belief, and to use that term earlier on, culture is aligned. And I think just to finish it completely, when you went back earlier on and I said, in one sentence, describe what culture means, and you literally said all arrows must be pointing in the same direction. And I'm going to find that Brian Kite chat that you referenced, who it was. But that for me is really about what innovation culture is all about, whatever the role of innovation is.
Right.